Welcome to the Passion Points podcast, 10 minutes of fresh insight on how consumers are changing as humans and how brands will need to pivot to keep up. I'm George Carey.
And I'm Philip Currian. More than 10 years ago, our company, The Family Room, created Passion Points as a way to measure the emotional priorities of adults, teens, and kids reliably. And we began tracking these passion points consistently in the US and around the world. The data never fails to amaze us. More importantly, the data reveals where consumers are going and how to future-proof brands and properties to anticipate them.
In our first edition, we'll explore girl power. We'll share some Passion Points data on how the emotional underpinnings of girlhood have fundamentally changed over the last 5 years. And we'll explore what those changes mean for brand marketers and content creators for whom girls and young women they'll become are an essential audience. Sound good? Then let's get into it. The data you're about to see comes fresh off the latest wave of our global Passion Point study. And we mean data. Though the study deals with emotions, it's anything but soft stuff. In fact, it provides 5 years of longitudinal tracking on passion point relevance and velocity, measuring the shifting emotional priorities of 80,000 respondents on 50 discrete dimensions, more than 400,000 data points per quarter, including which of these leading indicators they connect to categories and our subscribers' brands, enabling them to instantly pinpoint the relevance and growth opportunities at the intersection of a core human need of your target, a trending emotional job for your category, and a proprietary emotional asset for your brand, to find that brand relevant sweet spot from which most marketing miracles grow. So let's get back to our topic today, girl power, a subject very near to both Philip's and my heart because we both have 2 amazing daughters in our lives.
Every now and then, our data picks up a shift in these core human values that transcends any one country, manifesting globally across markets. Girl power is one of them. The data we're going to show you covers 5 very different markets, but this shift in the girl mindset is happening across all of them. Let's start with the first one. Freedom to make my own choices. It's one of 50-odd passion points that we track for girls globally. For girls 6 to 12-year-olds, autonomy has historically never been an urgent priority, but as you can see, it is one now. This shift started before COVID and has accelerated through it. For boys, this was always a higher priority, and after a dip at the start of COVID, it has more or less returned to normal. But for girls, this is a completely new world. Compare this to grades, which, unlike autonomy, was always a high priority for girls. But since COVID, or even before COVID, there's been a dramatic decline in the emotional priority that they have placed on getting grades. In fact, if you compare it to boys today, boys are always a lot lower. But what I want to point out to you is the gap between boys and girls. Today, it is not very big. This has historically been a place where girls have outperformed boys. This is quite different for girls now.
Yeah, it really reminds me of Philip of when my daughters were young, as school-age girls. When those report cards came in the mail, back when things came in the mail, they went right up on the refrigerator. That was my girls' way of sort of saying to the world and to their moms and dads, look how many A's and B's that I've got. And that, of course, was a way of sort of promoting self-esteem and the admiration of their parents. This is a completely different world now. As you point out, there is nothing like that same kind of emphasis on the external marker of grades as a proxy for my internal feeling of self-worth that girls feel today. Another area which has been in rapid decline in terms of markers of self-esteem, as we mentioned earlier here, is their relationship with their moms and dads. Here are 2 different passion points that measure that. The first one is girls' desire to feel close to their family. And the second one is the passion point around making my parents proud. You can see that both of these things are in rapid decline, and at least one of them began well before COVID and is showing no signs of continuing after COVID. So girls are looking for a new way to sort of carve out a place and sort of attain some autonomy and some agency in the world, which brings us to one of the passion points that is going up now as opposed to going down, which is girls' desire to make money. Now, let me remind you, these are first and second graders. These are not teenagers behind this data. These are like 7, 8, and 9-year-olds. And the passion point around learning to make money was never even on their radar screen. Never an emotional priority prior to the pandemic, but beginning in 2018 and going sort of pretty much steadily ever since, the idea of making money has been a hugely trending emotional passion point for girls. They see this as a form of agency, a form of self-esteem, and they are treating money, making something they need to learn right this minute.
It's great that girls are this new focus on achieving financial power over their lives. Thinking back as a parent, it's one of the areas that I feel I was remiss in not instilling it in as much in my girls. I mean, they're quite financially successful today, but I wish I had started them on this journey a lot earlier. And it's great to see that girls today are not waiting, that they have decided that this is an emotional priority they need to get started on early in life. But it seems to have come at a little bit of a cost. And the cost really is on the freedom of being a child. And look at how much that has declined as an emotional priority for girls today. And while it has gone up a little bit in Q4 21, it's still far lower than it was in 2018. Now, you may not think this is a big deal, but childhood is an important developmental stage. And it's a time in their lives where they can explore and just be a child. And the effects of this may not show up for a long time, may not show up till their teen years or even their adulthood. But believe me, this is a big deal.
So it seems to us it's absolutely no exaggeration to say that girlhood is in an intense inflection point on a global scale. Girls' need for autonomy and agency and fortitude has moved significantly younger, now begin at the age of 7 as opposed to 17. And these are no longer values that just parents want for their daughters. These are things that these girls want for themselves. And keep in mind that they began well before COVID and are showing no signs of going back in its wake. Said another way, this is not a temporary aberration. It's a new reality that we think consumer products and media properties who target girls or the women they'll become are going to need to respond to if they want to remain relevant in the future. So what do you do about that? I guess a few questions we would ask is, how can we as brands create and celebrate new markers of success for girls beyond getting good grades? As you saw earlier, that's certainly not any longer the emotional priority that it once was. How can we as brands or media properties better support financial literacy and new avenues to girl entrepreneurship? How can we as brands and media properties align with influencers who personify the will and determination to be themselves despite the huge pressure to conform? It is no secret that these girls are growing up in an influencer environment. It is incredibly difficult for them to assert themselves and be themselves in the face of so much pressure to conform. How can we as brands and we as media properties support them in that? And as Philip mentioned, how can we as brands and properties help girls better find a balance between the new expectations of girlhood and the vanishing space for childhood?
If you found value in this podcast, we encourage you to subscribe, share, or connect by clicking any of the links below. And if you want to learn more about our Passion Points construct and how to be a subscriber, please check the show notes and visit our website at www.familyroomllc.com.
In our next podcast, we'll shift our focus to Gen Z and explore some astonishing new data on teens' desire to create in our rapidly expanding creator economy. We'll see you next time.